Welcome back. I'm here with Jaian Cuttari and really excited to have a conversation with you. You guys probably hear maybe a little bit, they'll edit in the background. We got a lot of fun going on here. We're in Miami Art Week Family Office Forum here in partnership with the BitBasel and Future House and of course Conscious Capital Foundation. And as always, we love to tell stories of people living their purpose and doing really cool things in the world. And we were pulled together because someone said, I needed to interview you. Then you came by and we saw each other. And so there's something happening here. So I'm really excited to get to know you and find out what you're up to. So let me start with this question. So why are you here? Now, I don't mean South Beach. I mean on this earth.
Yes. I think I'm here to really uncover what it means to know the human condition, to understand people, and in all their different ways, in all their different forms. I've had the really blessed to be able to have traveled to many corners of the world. A lot of them, are stark contrasts from each other. So one place will be incredibly rich in the country, and other places are war-torn countries. But one thing which always kind of I took back, what I learned is people are kind. There is kindness
At the core, right?
at the core, and people just want to live in peace and have a coexistence which has mutual understanding and really be able to thrive. And that's what I've seen even in the worst hit war zones. I've been to South Sudan. At those places, I was very surprised to meet people who were very genuine and innocent and childlike. It was very confusing
in that contrast
of the backdrop of war, and then you're talking to people who are just happy to be there and happy.
Tell me a story about that comes in mind. Something that just take us there. Take us into the what did it look like? What was going on? Because I get conceptually that contrast, and that's why.
Yes,
and I love that in humans.
So I can start with a more of a, if you look at it, I went to South Korea. I was there for opening a business. We were doing joint ventures. And there, I was received really well. I had like an entourage, 10 people that took me in.
They do a great job with that.
Oh, yeah, they do. They go over the top. And then they told me VIP dinner. They sit.
Everything is, and everybody sits in the right
everybody
place.
Everything's organized. Yeah. And then, they put a VIP, like they say VIP dinner. They put all this food in front of me. They open it up, and then it's a moving octopus. It's a live octopus. And so then I'm here wishing I could eat McDonald's, but then I always remember these gestures mean something to them, and it's always important to kind of be open to change and experiences, even if you're uncomfortable. So I ate it, and I was chugging soju every bite I took. But
we won't talk about the level of intelligence of octopus. Let's not insert that to this conversation. But I'm glad you got it down.
So I compare that where I would go to South Sudan, a country which has been in war for over 50 years. And I go down there, and before I land there, I had to meet their general, the leader of their nation. I call him the general. He has a yeah.
So let's just tell me a little bit about how are you at that level of presence and being received. We can go back to that later. So finish your story.
Yes.
I know everybody's wondering. So
okay.
Finish the story.
Go. So basically, when I was received in Kenya, which is right next to South Sudan, I had to meet him before I could enter his country. We sit down, we have a dinner, we actually eat Indian food, and then I was talking to a man who's seen only war for decades. I'm the opposite of all of that. I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't want to talk about business. And we had a very human conversation over food. And then he's like, I love Indian food. I eat Indian food. I like it. And then he starts talking about Bollywood. I don't know if you're familiar with Bollywood. He talks about Bollywood. So here's a general, and he's talking about Bollywood, and he starts to cry. The man starts to cry, tear up, and I was like, what's going on? And then he tells me when he was a kid, all those years ago, his first movie was a black and white Bollywood movie and he saw it on the screen. And we were having this honest conversation between two people who start like very different. I mean, we're not even remotely the same, and we're just sharing honest experience, from his childhood, and he's crying. And then he, after that, he's like, okay, he's one of us, let him in. So then I go into South Sudan, and now it goes back to the story. I was received well with them. They didn't have champagne. They didn't have all of that. They gave me their 5-star meal. They gave me a bottle of water, and they gave me a cooked dish, which they made locally. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm just like, this is their way of being humble and kind and sharing that with me, and being able to have that human experience. And in comparison to, say, going out in the other thing where it's a very fabulously rich country, with they're serving you live octopus and all
So
that.
from octopus,
Yeah.
Indian food, to bottled water and a warm.
Yeah. So compare that to the South Sudan, where it's humble, and you would, and I was like, I honestly really liked it. I really liked that it wasn't a fancy feast or anything. It was very simple, but I knew that meant more to them to give what they could, to give me what they thought was the best experience they can, than if, going to some 5-star or whatever in some other country, eating live octopus, which I did not enjoy much, but I enjoyed this experience.
It's amazing, isn't it? The depth of kindness of humanity. And then the whole contrast of how that just gets so misguided, which is very unnatural. What is natural is core kindness.
We all eat. We all breathe. We all blink. And I think music. We all listen. And being able to, look at that as a reason to look at someone as a human being. Instead of seeing for all our differences, is being able to be like, you know what, we're all on this planet, and we all might not be on the same path, but we're definitely on the same journey of finding out. And that's, I've seen that for every country I've been to. I mean, this amazing people.
So tell me more about what is your world now? So that's really why you're here, and your core is really caring, loving human, and connecting with people. Tell me what you're doing and how you're bringing that out into the world. Other than this, which is a lot. Like being present and honest and authentic and connecting, which you can't fake.
You can't fake it, and that's the best part. Is because when people are faking it, and
it's visceral, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and
I think that's part of what brought us together too.
Yes.
So the whole energetic outside of the material.
The energies.
Right. I mean, there's things that, as I can tell. And when I say no, I don't say this from ego. I say it from a ton of experience and my best perception from the small little brain. But really there's a lot of us getting pulled together for very important reasons. And it's up to us to be awake and be present, because it's a time now for us to collaborate and really bring back what you're talking about.
Yes. So, with your question, what brings me here in context of, how am I using this as a platform to help? In 2022, I worked with a really great artist. His name was Lawrence Gartel. Lawrence Gartel is the father of digital art.
Say the name again?
Lawrence Gartel.
Okay.
And he's the father of digital art. He taught Andy Warhol. He introduced Andy Warhol to digital art. He's been doing it for 50 years. I never knew the man. I get introduced to a friend, and at the time I was running a fractional ownership company which fractionalizes high-end art. And we worked on a lot of works. We fractionalized the Andy Warhol piece. We sold it for $250,000 in 2 hours.
You're talking about NFTs?
Yes, okay. NFTs. I call it digital art.
I just wanted to make that translation to the audience. Yeah.
So then, fast forward, the artist heard about it, and he's like, I want to work with you. And we helped make his first NFT. So he introduced Andy Warhol to digital art, and I kind of worked with him on bringing him to NFT art. So it was an interesting kind of part of history, which I didn't understand I was part of. But looking back, it's cool.
That was 2022.
2022. And so when I was working with him,
It's amazing how fast things move, right?
I can't believe
Usually
I'm
when you're
talking
having a
about it.
conversation like this, you're thinking like 20 years ago or 15 or 2022.
2022.
Like yesterday.
Yeah. So like we were in the process of choosing which one of his artworks to go with to his first NFT drop, and it turned out he mentioned about a Tesla art car, which Tesla commissioned him to make because his medium of art is electricity, and then Tesla is electric. So they hired. Yeah, it's a perfect match, and so he made it. And then working with him, I was like, we need to do that one. I really think that should be the piece. And then he agreed, and we made we were supposed to make a 500-piece series. Before we could do that, we had to research the art, and we did, and we found out later that the art was missing. The art has completely disappeared. Doesn't exist anymore. The artist had what was the scraps left from the vinyl wrap left, which gave us the grounds to.
All right, so explain that a little bit more to the listeners who may not be tracking that quick on that.
So basically, the lost art car, Tesla commissioned him for Art Basel Miami 2010. He made a Tesla Roadster art car, and after that, it completely vanished. It went off the radar. Nobody knew. It was forgotten until we struck up that conversation and we started talking about this car. And in order to NFT anything, which is real art, you need to know who owns it. You need to know all the variables.
Which is what makes the value.
Exactly. So that's what ties it to reality. And in our investigative work and digital archaeology, which I didn't even think was a thing until we started doing it, we found out that the physical car had
like digital forensics.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
The car was completely gone. We ran the VIN number on the car, everything. It's sitting in a desert somewhere, and as a bunch of metal. And he had.
So what's your first thought when you find that out?
In the beginning, I actually didn't think much of it because I'm not from the art space entirely. So for me, that was just like a footnote. Like, okay, fine. Like that's the deal. But then, so when we released it, we released the art, the NFT. He makes the NFT. We release it. The day we release it, the market crashes. It was supposed to be a 500-piece series. Only one was ever made. The other 499 never existed. So it's the world's only case of lost on-chain and off-chain art. And that was what was really. And how did this all come about? Literally after. The parent company who owned the startup, which I was running, they had to put a pause on it. Everything stopped and the market crashed. A few years go by, and every now and then I had a thing. I worked with this really great artist, and I think there's something about what
it was working, yeah.
Yeah, it was like slowly the gears were turning. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's a missing piece of the story. I'm like, something doesn't make sense. I need to look into this. And I sit down and look into this beginning of the year with a few people. We go through all the emails, communications. We go through all the same information, and then it pushes in my head. It clicks. I'm like, this is lost art. The digital piece is also lost art. The physical piece is lost art. And it's like a story and a journey where we realized that I looked at the records. That art ended up in a scrap in the desert.
In the desert, you said, yeah.
6 months before we revived it as an NFT. So it got reborn, and we didn't even know we were doing it. We didn't even know until now. When I pieced it all together, I realized I'm like, wow, we really did do something crazy, and now we're using this crazy story about this lost art car to do art philanthropy. So we're working with Opioid Awareness, which is a charity by the Light Must Unite Foundation. So the Opioid Awareness Foundation focuses, of course, on recovery and giving people awareness on, like, okay, the not so great parts of opioids and all that. So we decided that since our art represents journeys which never stop and it's transformational, it's perfect with something like that, because even if people end up in a dark place in their life, it's not the end. It just is the beginning of a new transformational journey, and you can still make it. And here we are, 15 years ago, the physical car was at Art Basel Miami, being showcased. And then 15 years later, here at BitBasel Miami Art Week, we are at a digital version of that art, reborn, continuing its journey. You know, we've even beamed it to space. We've done a lot with it, but I feel that using that story to push and highlight and spotlight, that of charities and spreading the opioid awareness, that's what we're here for.
That's awesome.
Jamaica, presenting the Jaian.
Journeys never end, you know.
You know, I'm going to get you a copy of my first book.
Oh, please do.
You're going to love it. And I'd love you to read the one I just wrote. It's coming out in 6 days. But I think we'll pause right now for you got Mr. Marley singing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I that's my journey.
It's beautiful.